When I first decided to do this review, I wasn't sure how I would actually review the product. I mean, I have some of the best reviews out there from Linus Tech Tips to Jay's 2 Cents and Bitwit, so I had some very big footsteps to follow in. What I decided was to do what I do best, and well, that's my style. With that out of the way, hello YouTube, and welcome to Cerna's Honest Reviews. Today in this episode, we will be talking about the Galaxy Watch and an S3 Frontier watch from Samsung. Both the specs can be found in other videos or on Samsung's product page, which I will link in the description below. Now I come from the world of mechanical watches. I currently own the Tudor Black Bay Black and the Panerai 005. I have also owned two Rolex GMT Master 2s, one being the ever so beautiful Pepsi model and the other being the highly sought after Batman. I always said that I would never get a smartwatch since they always look like toys versus their mechanical cousins. All that changed once I stumbled across the Samsung line of smartwatches. The idea of having a smartwatch that resembled a mechanical watch finally appealed to me. Now I know that there are a lot of other smartwatches besides Samsung and Apple, but I didn't care for those designs either. Samsung answered everything that I wanted in a smartwatch. Rounded face? Check. Readily interchangeable straps? Check. Big presence on the wrist and feel of a real watch? Double check. Remember the two watches that I mentioned earlier? Well, the Samsung watches are larger and smaller than one or the other. How is that possible, you ask? Well, the Tudor is a 42mm case, and even at the crown, it is a lot smaller than the Samsung watch. Now, the Panerai, on the other hand, has a huge massive crown guard, so that makes it larger and heavier than the Samsung watch. If you've ever seen a Panerai, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now let's talk a little bit more about the watches. Both watches are 46mm, so they are large watches even by today's standards. Yes, I opted for the 46mm variant of the Galaxy Watch. I did try the 42mm variant for 3 days, but ended up swapping it out for the larger model. It is good to note, though, that where the S3 Frontier only comes in one style, which is all black, the Galaxy Watch has 3 styles to choose from. A rose gold 42mm variant with a pink silicone strap, all black in the 42mm variant, or two-tone stainless steel and black bezel in the 46mm variant. However, they both vary very differently on the wrist and have some different feature sets. They also share some similarities. Both have heart rate monitors. The Galaxy Watch has an updated sensor. Step and floor counters. The step counters do keep track of your steps even when you are stationary, like on a treadmill. They are also both capable of being Bluetooth only or standalone devices. They also have the option for customizable watch faces. The Galaxy Watch handles that a little different and better in some instances, but more on that later. I opted for the LTE enabled versions, and I have found it useful a handful of times when I forgot my phone. The S3 Frontier is water and dust resistant for 1.5 meters up to 30 minutes. I never trusted it enough to shower with it after I read some of the horror stories with a quick Google search, but washing my hands was fine. Whereas the Galaxy Watch is water resistant to about 50 meters, which meant I did actually shower with it and wasn't worried in the slightest about water getting in it. Let's start with the S3 Frontier. It has been around for some time. We can start with some key differences and why I like this watch over the Galaxy Watch. First, this watch is blacked out, so it feels like it wears a little bit smaller on the wrist, but it doesn't actually fit smaller. It also supports MST, which Samsung has been using now, which allows you to pay at any magnetic card reader There we go, got that open. So it allows you to pay at any card reader just as you would with swiping your card. The new variant only supports NFC enabled readers. I find myself using my phone a lot more for Samsung Pay, but it is nice to know that I have the option still to make payments should I forget my wallet at home. Battery life has been fantastic for me. It's showing 96% right now, and it's been on all day long. But I should note that I do charge up the watch at night. I don't feel like sleeping with a watch on, so either way I take it off. Whether or not I put it on the charger is just dependent on if I remember to. However, I am sure I could get a few days out of one charge should the need arise. Now let's talk about the bezel. The one thing that I absolutely love about both of these watches. You're able to navigate through each page with the turn of a bezel. And you can add widgets, play music, altimeter, barometer, quick contacts, the weather. However, I do prefer the bezel of the S3 Frontier over the new Galaxy Watch. The bezel is rugged looking and has these little teeth. I don't know if you could see that on the camera there. And it just feels like you're gripping and turning the bezel. It just feels better to me. Rotating the bezel lets you interact with the device as I was demonstrating earlier. You also have the option for voice input, but I never tried this myself since the bezel and touch interface is so much more refined. Remember how I mentioned the blacked out color of this watch? Well, that is a good and bad thing. It's good because I do prefer that over the dual color of the Samsung watch, but it sometimes doesn't feel dressy enough. Whereas the Galaxy Watch feels over dressy. So going to the gym wearing this, I don't care for. It just feels too flashy, too dressy. But I do find myself wearing this a lot more. The watches come with silicone straps that they're not fantastic, but they're not bad either. I just don't prefer them. I don't like feeling sweaty and slimy under my watch straps, and that's exactly how I felt on summer days. So I switched it over to a two-piece Zulu style strap, as you can see here. And since it supports interchangeable straps, all I had to do was use a spring bar tool to apply this one onto here. 22mm strap, 22mm strap. And when I talk about the spring bars, this is what it looks like on the Tudor. So you can actually see the spring bars there. This is a one-piece NATO strap that would cover the heart rate monitor if I were to wear it like this on the Samsung. That's why I went with the two-piece design. Otherwise, I prefer the one-piece. And it doesn't leave me as sweaty on the strap, which is fine, because I can deal with a little bit of sweaty right here on the watch. Now, onto the all-new Galaxy Watch. This thing is fantastic. It is two-tone where the case is stainless steel and the bezel is blacked out. Try to get this on camera for you guys. Beautiful, beautiful watch. It's very flashy over the S3 Frontier. That can be a good or bad thing again here too. It's good because I can wear this thing with a shirt and tie. However, I feel that it's too flashy for the gym in my opinion. This thing is a massive watch, but it is super light when I compare it to the Panerai. So we're talking almost double or triple the weight on the Panerai versus this. I actually have Panerai style watch faces on both of these watches since I'm used to them at a glance. Remember when I said they handled the watch faces a little different? Well, the Galaxy Watch will actually dim at night, so it looks like the face is glowing in the dark, almost looking similar to the Panerai style glow. And also look, this is the same face on both watches, and you can see the second hand on the S3 Frontier here on my left ticking, whereas the Galaxy Watch is a sweeping hand, non-ticking. Both show the date magnified with the power reserve, which actually shows the power reserve of the watch, which is really fantastic. I love that. The watch does feel a little bit snappier though when I'm on the Frontier. Let's see if I can do this. 8, 5, 2. So just moving through the apps feels a little more snappy. I don't know if it's just from the upped processor. It's a little bit faster, 0.1 gigahertz I believe is what it is. So it's just ever so slightly, but it still works fantastic. The buttons on the side of this one have a rubbery texture feel, whereas the buttons here don't feel as grippy, but you can see they still have the same sort of texture on there. And you can see the teeth of the bezel compared to the smoothness of the bezel there. And I prefer the grippy teeth. The new variant has some upgraded GPS features, but to be honest, that's not a huge deal for me, as most of my exercise is done indoors. In summary, guys, you can't go wrong with either watch in my opinion. Do note that the S3 Frontier is less expensive than the Galaxy Watch, so that could be a driving factor for some people. If you like to keep up with the latest and greatest tech out there, then there is no question that the Galaxy Watch is the choice for you. I am sure that there are things that I left out, and feel free to drop those questions down in the comments, and I will do my best to respond to them. If you like the content, please like the video, subscribe, and share the video. I will be doing an in-depth review of the Note 9 and S9 Plus for my next video. Thanks guys, and until next time, this has been Cerna's Reviews. I hope that this will help with any decision that you have to make about either one of these watches.